Hi, everybody. This is Margie Meacham, and this is another episode of the Brain Matters podcast. With me today is Andre Vermeulen. Dr. Vermeulen is the author of several books, including TikTok, This Makes Your Brain Rock, and he is the president of Neuralink USA. I'm very excited to have him with us today. He is, in fact, speaking to us from Pretoria, South Africa. So, Doctor, thank you so much for joining us in your evening. Please tell us a little bit about Neuralink.
Hi, Margie. Thank you. It's indeed always a privilege to be invited to share my passion with the rest of the world, and especially with a like-minded person that I know we share similar passions with regards to neuroscience. So, Neuralink is a company that specializes in the neuroscience of learning. So, we are learning specialists, and our value promise to our customers is we optimize brain performance. But we look at the drivers that impact brain performance, and then we also look at how it impacts our unique design. So we develop people, but we always say that you cannot improve what you cannot measure. And therefore, we've developed some brain profile assessments that measures the drivers that impact people's performance and then impact their design in very specific ways that make them learn and change behavior in very specific ways. But that's the business that we are in. So we are there to assist parents and schools and universities and businesses and also sports people to optimize their brain performance.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Doctor. And as you said, you and I are really passionate, and we've been following this journey about the brain for a while now. But lately, there's a lot of interest in neuroscience, and yet I still find very few practical ways that people are truly applying it. Why do you think it's been so challenging for most of us to translate neuroscience into best practices for learning practitioners?
You know what, Margie? I think the challenge of that is the field of neuroscience, the brain is the most researched phenomena in the world. But, it impacts psychology and education and engineering and sales and leadership and theology. And every field you think of impacts it where it has to something to do with humans. But so it is vast, and therefore the research is vast. So there are volumes and volumes and volumes of research available. But the challenge is you need to put this research into a practical framework for people who often are not interested in becoming neuroscientists. They just want practical tools that they can use to improve their brain performance, to be more effective at what they do, or to lead more effective, or to find their purpose in life. But I don't want to go study for a few years in order to just understand who I am. And I think that is always the challenge, So it's a vast field, but to really, from the research and the academics, change this into practical tools that can be used for the ordinary guy who's not a neuroscientist, but to understand what the impact of that is, that, in my opinion, I think is sometimes a bit of an art.
Okay, well, thank you. I agree with you. In fact, as you know, that's most of my work is trying to help people
Yeah.
translate what we're learning into something that's practical and yet stay away from the overhyped promises of some of the products out there. So I'm going to
Yeah.
jump ahead a little and ask you, at first glance, if somebody were listening to your discussion about your business, they might think, oh, you're like well, I don't know if I should mention a company name. I don't want to disparage anybody, but you're like one of those brain training companies I see online. What makes
Yeah.
you different from some of those other companies?
I think what is really for us important is we didn't develop the products that we have evolved based on our customers' needs and looking for brain-based learning and development solutions that addresses that. And so it's not just for entertainment purposes, but all our products have evolved for improving the brain performance and helping people to maintain well-being and so forth. So we definitely have a much different competitive, we very different, I think, from many of these popular brain training and almost brain entertainment types of companies, because the core essence of what we do is to empower people with skills to optimize their ability to learn and, so to absorb information, to process that, and to use it to change behavior. So we are really there. The outcomes, the results of what we do is to really help people cope with a challenging world, be more efficient and effective. But it's a behavior change. It's changing your learning skills, if so to speak. So at first, it may look similar to maybe just some brain training things and so forth. But what we look at, what we really isolate are the factors that really physical and mental factors that impact your brain performance. So we look at things like brain fitness, and brain fitness per se is not just doing a few IQ-related exercises or a few memory-related exercises, but as you'll know, it's incorporating movement. It is incorporating, the whole body in how you execute tasks and how you process information. So parts of what we do is quite unique. The things we do, the concepts we use, like, for instance, brain fitness, we look at 5 different aspects, for instance, that comprises brain fitness, not just 1 or 2. So we try to be holistic, we try to be comprehensive, we put all the factors together. Whereas with many of the work that is out there, you get that it's all compartmented. You get one aspect of a driver that impacts brain performance. So people will look at the impact of brain fitness, or look at the impact of sleep, or the impact of diet and movement, or 1 or 2. What we try and do is to be holistic and to add all these factors together, all the factors that makes up your unique design and the factors that influence that, and package that in one tool that you can use to really understand how you learn, how you think, how you lead, but in your unique way. Because we truly believe there is no such thing as one size fits all. So you've got to understand what works for you best and have alignment between who you are and what you do. So I think that is often, the fact that it's holistic, it's comprehensive, it is unique because it consists of unique things we measure that is not one other tool out there that measures all these aspects together. But at the end of the day, I think maybe the most important is our customers want results. They want behavior change. They want performance improvement. They want impact on bottom line. And that's why we eventually get paid, not because we have a nice and entertaining product, but because it is something that improves people's performance in the workplace, in the classroom, and eventually it helps them learn faster and smarter and be more effective at who they can be. And I think that's why we exist. Is for us, we believe that our core purpose is to help people become the best that they can be. But when you want to start that journey, it has to start by accurately identifying your unique type of potential. Margie, we all think, but in different ways. We all learn, but in different ways. And we all can learn to be leaders, but in different ways. Einstein was a very different type of leader than Mandela, but both of them profoundly impacted the world based on their unique design and what they had to offer. And you've got to be clear, if you want to really impact the world in your unique way, you've got to have an accurate.
Hi, everybody, it's Margie, and you probably noticed that we had a little technical difficulties with the last little bit of Andre's response to my last question, where he was talking about what makes his approach so different than some of those basically entertaining games for your brain that you might have seen. And if I could summarize your answer, Doctor, it sounded like what you're telling me are a couple of things. one that you really focus on. Your work is really grounded in peer-reviewed research, so that you know that the things you recommend are going to help someone, and it's focused at the individual level. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach to brain training. You really assess each individual and give them a program that is completely customized to them. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
Margie. 100%.
Great. And then what I'd like to do then is, our listeners are pretty sophisticated practitioners and they're hungry for the science. So if you could give us a high level of the science behind what you do, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, Margie, what we do is we develop people, but we say you cannot improve what you cannot measure. But we've always, how this product has evolved has never been because I had a concept or a thought that this is something that I want to do. I think what happened was I've always worked in the corporate world. I get paid to address customers' needs, or we need to improve performance. We need to reduce some health and, or reduce absenteeism in the workplace, or make the workplace safer. And then I was tasked to see how can we use neuroscience and what types of research is out there that we can use to actually do this. So the work that we do is a conglomeration of many, many scholars, like, the research of Dr. Carla Hannaford, and there are great scholars from Ornstein and Sperry right through. We've been looking at all these people's work and research, and Howard Pearson, all the information that they have been gathering. You, as a person who has a very strong grounding in brain-based learning and development, you know that Eric Jensen has provided some very powerful stuff also out there. So based on our customers' needs, we also always had to go look at what is out there. And then we have to think, how are we going to measure this improvement? And therefore, it's not just the work of one or two people, but actually the work of many people within different types of sciences like education, psychology, obviously physiology, in our perspective, is a very important aspect, because the thing I love about neuroscience is neuroscience validates the behavioral sciences. For many years, as a person working in training and development, I would have criticism from some of my customers who may be engineers and chartered accountants that, the work we're doing is not an exact science, and therefore, it's a little bit airy-fairy and, not too tangible work. And what neuroscience has done is it has brought validation and validity, reliability into the human behavioral sciences and so forth. But it's a conglomeration of many different people's work. So it's not just based on one or two people's philosophies, and it's also based, obviously, big on the health psychology, where you have to look at the impact of water, diet, sleep, lifestyle, and so forth. Also, health psychology, neuropsychology, and so forth. So neuroscience as such is not a simple science, because it plays into all these different fields and has many role players who focus or specialize very specifically in the world of neuroscience on a very small type of aspect. And therefore, there are more people's work actually involved here than we can actually sit and name in the next 15 minutes or so. But yes, we have to make sure that you constantly use the word valid and reliable. Yes, we work with, I am a part-time lecturer at the University of Pretoria, where we still have programs. Some of my books are there also prescribed, and we work closely with them, looking at things like validity and reliability, and constantly keep on trying to improve on that. Also, I'm busy with Dr. Bill Bonstetter from TTI in the United States with a new study on further reliability on what we do. Once we've finished and we're happy that we are where we're supposed to, we will move from there to looking again at validity and checking validity for what we do, but from a completely different perspective, monitoring literally the electrochemical brain responses to a question and see how that adds up to previous work and then how that influences the responses. So yes, we are constantly trying to improve validity and reliability as far as we possibly can. But in my opinion, as long as you work with people and needs change, it is a work that is constantly a work in progress.
I agree. And it's so hard for people who are actively helping people learn to stay on top of it. And that's why we need people like you to, to summarize and curate that for us. So can I ask you to do something for me because this will go up on my website. I'd love to have a few selected links from you that somebody who really wants to dig a little deeper that you would recommend. Either they can be articles of your own or somebody else's work that you think might be of interest.
Yeah, absolutely. The people are most welcome to visit our website, which is www.neuralink.company. They can definitely have a look there. But if there's someone whose work for the ordinary guy who wants to translate brain research to practical tools, I would highly recommend a book that I often use and look at, and really I find it almost like a bit of a Bible for me, and that's Howard Pierce's The Owner's Manual for the Brain. I absolutely love that book. But those are some, and then, someone I did training with her, Dr. Carla Hannaford. She wrote the book Smart Moves, and also a book, The Dominance Factor, that's a lot about the brain, eye, ear, and hand dominance and how that influences how you learn and process information. Very interesting works to read, and people, in my opinion, who has really done tremendous work in the world of making neuroscience more understandable for people I think, teachers and parents and learning practitioners and so forth. But I think, without bombarding people with too much academic information, I love their work because, it speaks English to me, meaning with that, it's simple and tangible, still absolutely 100% scientifically correct.
Okay, well, thank you for mentioning those works. And I actually have on my bookshelf the very first edition of The Owner's Manual to the Brain, back when no one in corporate training was talking about the brain. I gravitated to that book and just loved it. And as you say, it really is a Bible for a lot of us, and those other works as well.
I think we're in the 5th edition now, if I'm not mistaken. And by this time, it is almost as thick as a Bible, So, but I absolutely love it because they stay current. I was just telling someone earlier today that there was a time when I was just in this field that, we thought that, intelligence is a fixed thing, and you can't really grow brain cells and all those things. And then we realized, but wow, that's not the truth. So that's the thing of new brain research. So it's so important what you said out there to your listeners just now, and that is, you've got to stay on top of the current research, because research tells us that the facts sometimes, as we have it, change. And that's sometimes why there are so many neuro myths, because the brain is the most researched phenomena in the world, but we don't always keep up with the latest research on what it says. And that's when our understanding of the brain becomes inundated.
And I'm glad you mentioned that about intelligence not being fixed. That's something I talk about in my book, Brain Matters. And also, we have a conference coming up, and I'll talk to you about it offline, because Brain Matters 2015 is an online conference completely dedicated to looking at this concept of maximizing your brain's potential through the lens of neuroscience. And so the catchphrase for it is bring out the genius inside you. And it's absolutely built around all of the kinds of things you and I are both looking at, is how do we enhance learning and performance now that we're starting to know how the brain works? How can we get more
Yes.
intentional about what we do as learning practitioners? So I would love to have you engaged in that, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I think 100 years from now, people will laugh at what we understood about the brain now. But this is what we know now, and what we know now is so much more than what we knew 5 and 10 years ago. But I have no doubt that there will be some astounding research released that still will have some very powerful implications for us as human beings and for learning and development and optimizing performance that will come in years to come. And so in 100 years from now, people will laugh at us for what we knew for now, but this is what we know for now. So we can only work with what we know is true and a fact for this moment.
That's right. And that's what makes it so exciting. We're never going to get bored studying the brain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can never get to that place where you think you know it all now about this. I think one of the things I have realized is the more interested I am and the more I try and read and learn about these things, the more I realize how little I actually understand about the human mind.
Well, that's pretty humbling if you feel that way with all of your credentials. So I guess we can also tell our listeners, just do the best you can. Nobody can master all of this. We just go at it day by day, and we all get a little better at it.
Absolutely.
Now, let's go from the business and the science side to a little more personal side, Andre. I would love to know how you came to be dedicated to your work with the brain, and what was your personal journey to get you so interested in this field?
Well, you know what, Margie? I think I had some help from, it depends on a person's belief system, but my belief system said I had some help from the Lord who made me and knew what my purpose was, and maybe I didn't understand it, so I lost my job. So I had some help to say, now I've got to try and figure out what am I going to do now because, I don't have a job and I need to also, in that time, I was quite challenged with, who am I? What is my reason for existence? What is the work that I have to finish before my time is up? So there came a time around about when I was 30 that I really was challenged and thought, okay, so what do I need to do with my life? At that time, I was really challenged also with some issues like I believed I can't work with people and I can't talk to people and so forth. And I started, learning many things, maybe sometimes through the University of Life, that I discovered some things about myself. But I also tried to do every possible assessment I could put my hand on to learn about myself and, the person within and who is that person. And I think instinctively, part of that journey of discovering who I was, I discovered that who I thought I was not the person that I'm supposed to be. But figuring out, discovering my real potential, I realized it's not a question of I didn't have people potential or language intelligence. I had the potential, but just not the skill. And I can become that if I choose to develop the skill. But so it was like a journey of self-discovery and learning and discovering my life purpose. And I realized for me, there are many others like me who instinctively know there's more to my life than where I'm at the moment. But how do I figure that out? And what I have discovered for me was part of discovering life journey, your life journey is to try and start answering the question, but who am I? And if there's alignment between who I am and what I do, I I start enjoying what I do. And I realized that's why I was working and I was doing many things that I was, I guess, fairly good at, but I didn't love what I was doing. So I had to try and answer that, figure that out. And so what I discovered also was Mission Impossible for me was to try and figure out purpose without understanding your own design. If you look at a SUV or what we would call a 4x4 vehicle, its design dictates that it should be, in the rough and tough off-road. But if you look at a luxury vehicle like a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz, those cars were made to peak perform on a highway. So your design gives you an indication of where you could be. And when I started looking at it and as I started discovering, my passion started awakening. And I just absolutely became drawn into this world of self-discovery and of trying to figure out what is the real truth about these things. And that's what neuroscience again did for me. It was discovering my design opened up a whole new world for me. And this is what we're still trying to do today, is to help others accurately find their potential. And then if we can assist them in aligning their potential with appropriate skills, and they can start becoming competent, good, and great at what they do, then we're really helping people to become the best that they can be. But the journey starts with accurately identifying your potential, and that's a difficult thing. And that's what we're trying to do, is from a neuroscience perspective, we're trying to understand your own design and what does that mean for me as a person in the workplace, or for me as a parent working with my child, because that will indicate to you as a parent what type of development opportunities you should create for your child and help them with career choices and those types of things. When there's alignment between these.
And everybody, it's Margie again. We're going to pick up with Andre, and he was talking with us about his own personal journey and how he came to do what he does. And I'm sure many of you are on your personal journeys as well. So hopefully the information that we'll put up on our site will help you with that. So Doctor, what are you working on right now that really has you excited? What's next for you?
Margie, I exist. My life purpose is to help develop others and improve who they are and become more of who they could be. And at the moment, we're busy with two huge but very exciting projects. The one is in South Africa, the other one is in the United States. The one in South Africa is a big corporation of about 9,000 people. And we are at the moment, that's why I'm here in South Africa, is we are starting to roll out what we call a fast track potential development program. And it's all for potential leaders who's been earmarked for, going up the leadership ladder, but they have to go through a process called leadership fundamentals. But what we're doing is they are using our brain profile assessments to develop accurate awareness, to get to know themselves and understand their own design, and also see where they can improve themselves further. And then once they have learned that, then and discovered that about themselves, then they will go through 9 different modules where they address certain emotional intelligence modules, but these modules are all from a neuroscience perspective. It is like, we call them things like mind power, is how do you take control of your thinking and your emotions? How can you change behavior? What should you do to maintain and take care of your brain so you can perform at your maximum level, function as an integrated person, cope with stress and not allow the cortisol, the stress hormone, to negatively impact electrical transmission. But then from there, how does this play into relationships, your social awareness, how you communicate, what is your unique neuroscience communication style, what is your figurative brain language that you speak in your team, and how do you contribute towards your team, but then also how that influences your unique your neuroscientific approach towards leadership. So it is a unique program, but we have tested it previously with another organization, and we could show them that it gave them a 3 times better result than what the company hoped to achieve in terms of impact on bottom line. So I'm really excited that we have a good people development, a fast tracking program for people with potential to improve that even more. But on the other side of the world, in the United States, we're busy with a fantastic, on your side of the world, my side of the world, actually, that's where I'm also, it's Colorado is what I call home now. But there, we're working with a company in the health industry, also a huge health analytics industry. And there we're working on three different things where we're bringing neuroscience into the world of sales optimization and then also leadership development, but then also improving health and safety and also well-being factors in the workplace. And it will also typically be where people go through different of these online assessments, and then they can do some self-paced development modules that we are developing for them that they can then do on their own time and their own place. And hopefully we can give them also a result like we've been able to prove to other customers in the past. But interesting, so on the one side of the world, we are working with huge commodities and logistics companies, and on the other side with health and analytical companies. But the great news about this is any person with a brain benefits from this. And, you know, it is just so fulfilling to know that you're trying to help others to be more of who they could be.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're a really busy guy. So I want to thank you again for taking so much time with us today. And if somebody wants to follow up and take advantage of some of your programs, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
People are always welcome to the best way to get in touch and let us know if they're interested in any type of brain training or assessments or some of our brain shop products. They're most welcome to just visit our website. That's neuralink.company, not .com, but .company. And so www.neuralink.company. But people are most welcome to, if they want to send me some emails and want to communicate with me personally, they can contact me at andre@neuralink.company. So very simple, andre@neuralink.company, or they can find me on Facebook, they'll find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, but I also have a drandrevermeulen.com website, but that's more just about you know, the motivational work that I do across the world as a speaker more than you know, our neuroscience work in our company. But they're most welcome to visit me on any of those platforms.
Okay, and for our listeners, I will make sure that that information is in our newsletter for you. So thank you again today, Andre. It's been great speaking with you. So everyone, this is Margie Meacham, and you've been listening to the Brain Matters podcast with Dr. Andre Vermeulen from Neuralink USA. Thanks.
Mark, thank you very much. It's been indeed a privilege. And also, may you really be very successful and blessed with the work that you do, as what you do is so important. And you're obviously also very passionate about your work. And so we keep on making a difference one person at a time.
Thank you. And on that note, we will say goodbye for now.